that, we're back in. We're here.
Oh man, oh no, it's the good ship pixel response. So that doesn't work for, it's the good ship Berserk, because we're literally on a ship for this whole volume, so
we are on
to
a ship.
Bring it in to that. Have you ever been on a ship? Do you ever go on a cruise?
Cruise? No, I have been on ferries and stuff between islands and shit like that. That's my ship. I hate the ocean.
Had a vanilla Coke on the deck of a ship out to Vancouver Island or whatever. So I think it's the first place I ever had one of those. So that's why it's like married to that. I don't even know if you can get those anymore though.
Vanilla Cokes? Yeah, maybe.
Like the freestyle machine will set that up for you, I think. But yeah. Anyway, my name's Nathan, and I'm a reader of the manga Berserk. I haven't finished it though, so please don't send spoilers in.
No spoilers.
We're almost there though. There's like 7 left or something, right?
Yeah. And I'm Paul, and I have gone berserk.
Whoa. Our buddy Guts goes berserk at the end of this one. Actually, he actually does have to do that.
It finally happens on brand.
Yeah, he's pretty tired though. I guess in this one, he says he's half asleep at some point, but
same.
You know, yeah. Yeah, kind of. You record kind of late. But all right, what is the name of this arc actually? What's this called?
This is the Fantasia arc, and this is the Elf Island chapter, I think is what it's called officially.
Okay, so
it doesn't matter because it's the only chapter in Fantasia so far, up to modern times.
For us, yeah, that's true. There's. Oh wait, you're saying this doesn't get concluded?
This chapter doesn't, no, because this chapter is when Mira died. Like, we're still in it.
Oh, okay. Well, our party is sailing for the island, Elfhelm, and who should appear on the horizon? Actually, no, this isn't quite how it starts. We get like a bird. No, it's a bird flying around, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's the pirates. You're right.
He's spying on the pirates is what happens basically, or whatever.
Okay, you're right.
No, wait. No, I'm wrong also. This is in between what happened when they left, I think, and everything. This is basically like the inciting incident of them becoming what they become. Is they're having a conversation, and then like the demon stuff that we don't know what it is yet, but like something creeps up on them on the ship, and that's kind of where it cuts away.
All right, so the 3 ships have had to consolidate their crews into one because our buddy, the Prince of Illith or whatever, blasted apart 2 of their ships. So there's too many pirates on one boat. They're getting worried about food and stuff, like they're not doing well. And Bonebeard is kind of yelling at his guys, and this bird flies by. And then we kind of follow that bird off of the ship, and there's a big sea serpent kind of thing swimming around, and it barely evades that, and then continues flying to the ship we care about, where Shirka is kind of remote viewing or whatever at the time. I wasn't really clear if she is inhabiting this bird.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because suddenly this bird takes exception to Isidro and Puck kind of vandalizing, like frat boy style, like painting Shirka's face with like goofy pirate eye patches and whatever on her face. And the bird reacts like, "What the hell are you doing?" And starts pecking at them. And I was like, why does this bird care? Like, what is going on?
Sure.
But I gotcha. Okay, so that's the vessel or whatever that Shirka's using.
Yes.
And then she wakes up again and starts yelling at them and whatever. So I think burns Isidro or something, singes him with some spell or something.
Yeah, I can't remember, but there's a pretty good moment where Farnese comes in and is like, "Is this like the setup for a new spell? Teach me," or whatever. Just like some dumb gags going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Good shit.
But yeah, just Shirka embarrassed or whatever. But yeah, I'm trying to remember how we get to. I guess they just then are hanging out on the ship and see a ship approaching from the distance or whatever, and it's Bonebeard's like a pirate ship, I guess, coming up on them, and it's
Riddled
catching
with
up
holes.
to them, right?
Yes.
Like, it's weird how fast it's moving because it shouldn't be capable of doing that. Yeah.
Yes. What's
And
his
then
name again?
Pirates of
Is
the
it
Caribbean
Roderick? Am I
type
correct?
stuff goes on. Yeah, I think you're right. I just
Roderick
remember the
makes some
country.
comment about what strat are they using? What tactic that they're able to catch up to? I can't remember the name of his ship. The whatever.
The Unicorn.
Is it the Sea Unicorn? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's a moment where we get to see it as well in the distance. I'm guessing through a spyglass or something, and it's just riddled with holes and falling apart looking. Just wait, what? Because we just saw it. So, why is this all messed up?
Yeah. And then they ready their cannons, and they're going to shoot some long-distance stuff at it, and then it dips underneath the water to evade them.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be possible. So then, whoa, it's like a ghost ship or something.
Yeah.
Prepare for battle or whatever. We're going to get boarded. And then there's kind of a pause before anything. It's what are they doing? Why aren't they invading? And then a bunch of tentacles pop up or whatever, right? And Bonebeard kind of tips his hand a bit that, yeah, we're undead now or whatever.
We're dead,
weird
yeah.
monsters. So,
yeah.
and I guess the nature of this thing and everything is sort of the big reveal of the whole arc or the whole volume. But yeah, all these weird kind of many-eyed tentacle things are everywhere. And Bonebeard keeps saying oh, those are just its whiskers. You're just kind of pissing it off. It's so powerful and whatnot.
Yeah. So the ship itself is the monster, as Shirke says. That ship has a weird odd emanating from it. It's almost as if it's a living creature itself or whatever. And he says something your sharp lass or something. It's oh, okay. They kind of explain this just right out, right? That the ship is, I guess, the creature or a creature of some sort, at least.
Oh, and I have a note here. I think it's Isidro says this. It's Bonebeard kind of comes up and just starts complaining about how his reputation has been ruined by them and he's going to get his revenge or something. And then Isidro's what is it, a pirate ship or a crab ship? He's making fun of how much complaining they're doing or something. And I was sure. All right.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Meanwhile, Guts, I guess, is just kind of in his cabin still recuperating, but then he eventually kits up and joins the fray and turns the tide and does Guts stuff,
As I remember, it's kind of interlaced with some of the stuff happening. There'd be a page where there's a thing of him putting his arm cannon together and another of getting his sword. Is oh, okay, he's getting ready. Well,
and then cut to the deck and 5 sailors just got eaten or something. So
yeah.
And then he comes out swinging and starts chopping apart these things, and everyone's oh, finally late to the party or whatever. At one point, he does a thing where he fires his cannon and uses the momentum from the cannon to power up the swing or something.
The recoil, yeah.
Chops a really big tentacle or whatever.
And they do the thing again of these not the pirates, of the dudes on the ship being oh my god, how can he swing that sword? It's every time Guts is on screen, everybody has to be talking about how cool he is.
It did feel like a throwback. Yeah, it's wow, I thought mainlanders were weak, but this guy is so fast and so good. It's just yeah, I mean, we're 35 things in or whatever, but yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good at sword fighting.
Yeah.
And then the thing that ends the battle, though, isn't Guts. It's just oh, crap, the sun's coming up. Let's get out of here. And then the pirates kind of bail, right? The ship disappears underwater or whatever, and the Sea Unicorn is a bit damaged from the strange battle they just had, so they need to pull into an island that is just kind of a remote fishing village island, nothing too fancy. But it turns out there's intrigue to be had.
A new character that we don't really find out a lot about them here yet. We find out some. I'm going to call it now. We're adding this person to our party. This is going to happen, right?
Oh, yeah? You think Yzma is going to tag along with the crew? She's not just going to stay a hermit on the island forever?
She got like a full page spread before they like met her. It's like, oh, this character's gonna be important. Wink, wink.
Yeah. It almost reminded me of that weird mysterious boy character that I forgot about until I was reading it again, where it's just like, oh yeah, there was that weird little elf kid or whatever, and then what happened to him? It's
Wait.
like
Oh my
volumes
God.
and volumes ago.
Who was it? I can't remember this.
He was there. He was like big-eyed little kid or whatever. I don't remember if there was a dark twist with him or anything really. He just kind of, I'll have to resurvey and learn what happened to him. But initially I was like, oh, is this a returning character? And it's like, no, this is a girl. And it's like, oh, okay. Isidro kind of is the first to run into her when he's looking around this cave.
He goes
which is kind
exploring.
of, yeah, he's like, oh, whatever, we're telepathically linked or whatever. If I'm in trouble, I'll send a message or something. But then he slips and drops his fire dagger, which is a key point, I guess, at one point. And then Yzma shows up and takes him away to kind of clean up or something, because I think he fell or like he got dinged up a little bit.
No, the sea or a gust of something hit him, like a splash of water from the sea.
Oh, okay. And didn't he cut his head?
Yeah, that might have happened as well.
I think he gets a cut on his head, and he's trying to be cool, but it's just like, no, come I'll take care of that. It's like, all right.
The only thing I remember about this is that there's a few scenes where he's like, there's an arrow drawn from his eyes looking at her chest, like, to show that, like, Mira really wanted you to know that that's where he's gazing or whatever. It's kind of weird
like
to me.
Circled or something at one point. Because, Shirka, like, remote views or whatever, sees what he's seeing at one point, and he's just looking down her shirt. And then it cuts to that scene, and then it's like, this is what she was seeing, by the way, or whatever. Like, it was kind of showcasing that. It's a pretty fun drawing, though, because you have, like, super serious Shirka face and then, like, cartoony Shirka face when she realizes what's going on.
Just some good anime shit going on there, yeah.
Because in that moment, she thinks Isidro may have been eaten or something, because his dagger's there and this mysterious cave is there, and she's been detecting this strange odd everywhere. So yeah, they definitely bring up the mysterious wind like several times. Like, you're just like, man, yeah, everything kind of changed after that. Remember that thing? Remember that wind?
Yeah, things have been weird since the wind or whatever.
Yeah. In fact, that sea serpent, I wasn't sure if that even could exist prior to that having happened, you know? Like, that's a Fantasia creature or something.
Yes.
But anyway.
Right. This is kind of the intrigue we find out about the cave is that apparently it's where Sea God lives, according to, what's her name again? Yzma, yeah. Yzma. And that's kind of, I guess, like the inciting thing for us to be like, ooh, we want to see what's in that cave now, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of the party is kind of poking around the village, and they open a tent at some point and see this weird tentacle thing. And then next volume, and it's like, oh, it's a statue. But it's a statue of that sea god. So
yeah,
I guess Shirka just kind of intuits that. It's like, oh, this is some sort of deity or something.
Do you think she knows, though? Because in her studies of magic, she's kind of used to this idea of, like, maybe ancient spirits and gods living among, like, the world that they're inhabiting.
I don't know if she knows that god specifically or not, but she recognizes it as such. But everybody's being weird in this town. It kind of reminded me of Nier, like a replicant or whatever, like where that village just has closed doors and nobody's talking to you.
Sure, yeah.
There's just kind of shadowy figures kind of in doorways and whatever. So something's weird with this town. But I don't even know that it's exactly a great place for them to fix the ship, but they're just going to spend the night in that port kind of working on it and then leave the next day.
Right.
And there is an inn of some kind run by a strange, like, shadowy blob man. But they just kind of go with it. So.
Yeah. Like some weird tavern or something that they go into. Yeah.
Yeah. And Minifico's kind of complaining about the, food and stuff, but that's what he does.
Yeah.
Although I guess he's also happy to be on solid ground because he can actually keep food down in that situation. So, it has its upside. But yeah, this Yzma character I kind of found fun. She's kind of peppy and wide-eyed and like kind of remind me of Ponyo or something. Like she even seems to have a similar characteristic or whatever. Like she might be a mer person of some kind, you know?
It's kind of nice to have a character that seems happy and full of life with a party that's been completely beaten down. And like even the happy characters from before are like, maybe they lost their mind, their faculties along the way, or they've just been like seeing terrible shit or lost like a mother figure or something. Like nobody in this party is happy. So it's kind of nice to have a character that seems like joyful in every scene in some way.
She is an orphan, I think, but for several years now, so she's gotten used to being on her own, and she seems to be kind of a hermit just by virtue of being an outcast from the village. But therefore she's very excited to get outside news or whatever, so she's hanging on every word Isidro's saying as he talks about his amazing heroism or whatever. And those are cute scenes. I don't know.
I like it.
I thought that was fun. Yeah.
Agreed.
And just kind of wide-eyed wonder at all this stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, it's an elf. Like, oh wow, a real witch. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Here, have some dumplings or whatever. Like, she's really accommodating. But it's like Shirka kind of sees her true essence or something. Like, there's a page where she sees that she's like a Muro or whatever, right?
Yeah,
like
Muro. Yeah.
There's that kind of like almost like a Zora or something form or something that her like I guess it would be her ethereal form has maybe or something. Like she has a touch of something else that she can see. I wasn't quite sure how to interpret that shot that Shirka has, you know?
Well, it's interesting because she comes in to the scene or whatever, to the cabin in a really fun scene where she like looks like a monster because she's covered in seaweed and like crustaceans and
sea
stuff.
Stars and yeah.
Because she like got attacked by whatever sprayed Isidro. Also like attacked her at that moment. I think it was more tentacles or something.
Yeah, she uses the term naughty tentacles, which seems like a translation joke or something, or like I don't like that implication at all, but it's like, all right, guys, yeah, I get what you're saying, but
yeah,
I don't know what exactly went down, but okay. She fought off a couple tentacles and found his dagger and is now like, oh, you dropped this, and she like shows up really pissed off, and it's like, oh, and it's like, yeah.
Like, they kind of ask more about her, and she says something. This is where we find out Yzma was an outcast or whatever, and they don't really like her very much. And I think it's Shirke says something. Is that because you're a Muro or whatever? And she's like, no, I'm not really a Muro. My mother was a Muro. My dad that fell in love with. It essentially is the idea. And then they were outcast or something.
Yeah. And it's like, sorry to be so boring. I'm human, but... Like, she makes the joke, actually, initially. She's like, yeah, it's probably because I'm a Muro. And then, like, what? And it's like, I was joking. My mom was a Muro, though. It's like, so you kind of are? It's like, no. Like, I don't know why. But then I maybe it's because she didn't really believe in the spiritual realm or, like, any of that stuff until she sees a real elf and a real witch. And then she's like, well, who knows? Maybe they are real. Like, I just kind of dismissed that as fantasy or whatever.
I'm also wondering if
Fisher Village... rumors.
I'm also wondering if the strange wind that hit her, like, brought that out also.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that could have changed her essence a little bit or brought that forward or something. We don't know. We just have a page of her in a strange form and this backstory or whatever. So, yeah. But you're right. It seems like she's probably not going to stay on this island when the party leaves. She's probably going to want to tag along.
She has nothing keeping her here. She's an outcast. People hate her. We're going to find out that
her whole village isn't even like real anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
probably best to leave.
Yeah. Totally.
I brought it up last Top Down actually, but Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, kind of has this thing with like Innsmouth or whatever, this little village where like everybody seems a little weird and a little off or whatever. So I was kind of like getting the same wavelength here.
Sleepy fishing village type. Yeah, I mean, for extra reading, Shadows over Innsmouth or whatever, if people want to do more fisherman fucked up town stuff. The Sinking City. No, not the Sinking City. The other one. I can't remember the name of the game, but there's a game that deals basically, maybe it was a Sinking City with all of this stuff as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that kind of like something about these people isn't on the level, and it's like
very
they're
Lovecraftian. All of this.
yes, they're all weird eldritch monsters or whatever. Like it yeah, the story with this sea monster is at night its tentacles go out from that cave and start like spreading out across the sea and like causing problems.
Yeah.
And then our party, right? Shirka, Isidro, Puck, and Isma were kind of having this dinner conversation and stuff, but then they start getting like bad vibes from the village. Like they're like, something's going on. We should head back. We need to head back.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the party is at this pub, and then everybody starts kind of just turning into. Well, first of all, they're all getting surrounded by just the entire village. Like Minifico and Roderick open the door and are like, "Yeah, we're gonna head back to the ship." Oh, weird. 40 people are out here, just kind of looming in the darkness, staring at us. And somehow, I think it's Magnifico is like, "Oh, how rustic! They turned up to like welcome visitors." It's like, you're so bad at reading the room or whatever. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He calls
like,
it rural hospitality.
Yeah, that must be what it is. Van Dominion is here. Surely they're here to pay respects or whatever. It's like,
Just
no.
like, yeah, the trust fund kid that's never been in the real world a day in his life sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all monsters. They start transforming into monsters. And then the rest of the party's kind of running back in the darkness. Isma remarks at, Shirka's glowing staff and how useful that is for night fishing or whatever.
Yeah.
But they see a weird thing in the darkness too. They see a ship climbing a cliff, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about this actually.
It's just like, what is that? And then you just see like the pirate ship just kind of skyrimming its way up a mountain or whatever. And you're just like,
Yeah.
all right, well, that's weird. And then all of that kind of comes together at the village. And yeah, the pirates are also tentacle things. Like they were,
Yeah.
I guess the nature. Because yeah, I guess when they first appeared, I was like, oh, are they all apostles now or something? Like what happened? But it's like, no, they were eaten by this thing, and then it kind of copies you, and you become part of a collective tentacle consciousness or something. Like it was a little weird. But you seem to maintain your personhood a little bit, because it's still like Bonebeard talking to you.
Yeah.
And it's still his first mate and stuff, and like dumb stuff they would say, and their memories of how they were slighted or whatever. But then they're also just tentacle creatures. So... Yeah, it's a
weird
neat trick,
looking
I guess.
too. They're like, I don't know how the hell they turn into. They keep like a human form, even though they're like a giant tentacle pod with like claws around it or something and a mouth in the middle.
Yeah, it's almost like a Venus flytrap or something with like a vertical mouth and like 12 eyes around it.
And like a centipede body, like for the like tentacle part. Yeah, I guess.
And I don't know that we've seen the actual core of it. Like we've kind of seen larger tentacles of it that have smaller ones coming off of it, but I think the heart of whatever it is inside the ship now. It kind of occupied the ship so it can move around. Seems to be maybe what happened.
I mean that's what I'm thinking. Unless
that's just part of it and it is in that cave.
In the cave, right.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out next volume because we kind of leave in the middle of this battle.
So do you think that these tentacles and stuff are this quote unquote sea god, or is this like an apostle of the sea god sort of thing? Or is the sea god like one of the god hand?
No, I feel like we're probably getting into like Fantasia creatures or whatever. So this is like a sea monster, just a different kind that we haven't seen before. I don't know that it has anything to do with the apostle realm or whatever. Right. I wasn't clear if that serpent we saw had anything to do with this, really. I feel that was just kind of like a little fake out where it's like, oh, like the other pirates are talking about ghosts and spirits. And he's like, what? That's stupid. And then they cut to like a giant sea serpent as the birds fly around. I was like, oh, is that thing heading towards them? Are they in trouble? And then yes, a sea monster got them, but no, it wasn't that one.
Right.
I think is what happened. So, okay. Yeah. fair enough, I guess. I'm just glad it was a totally different sea monster than those like weird whale things we've seen several times.
Totally. No, like I really like that we're back in horror land. We're in deep back in here. So I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a fight happens as we know it would, and it just gets worse and worse to the point where they say, "Guts, use your berserker powers."
Magnifico starts saying that, but like Farnese and others are just kind of like, no, he shouldn't do it. Like that's too dangerous. And then Shirka is trying to reach out from like a mile away or wherever they are, just being like, please wait until I get there. Yeah. Like we're on our way or something. But it's just at some point the threat becomes too great or whatever. Like there's too many enemies or something. So he does pop the armor and go berserk.
Yeah. He pops the cooldown.
Yeah. And that's kind of where it leaves things, right? Like he's flying around chopping stuff, and that's good in a way, but also the other group better hurry or else he might murder everybody.
Chopping up weird sea slugs and shit.
Some of them really did look like slugs. I wasn't quite sure why they were saying that over and over, and then it's like, oh wait, there are some that do just kind of look like big slugs.
Yeah, some of them are just giant slugs. I think that have tentacles themselves.
Squids or whatever. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. It's gross. It's all very, very gross.
A lot of teeth. Yeah. Starlight pit kind of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a straightforward volume. Like that's what goes on. We do get a new character with potential, I guess. And
yeah, I think she's going to be part of this voyage, which could be interesting. So just a few things I thought were kind of interesting. Ever since the wind happened, or the event, apparently the ward or whatever on Guts' neck just continuously bleeds like a hole, like that won't close.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he says he's just kind of numb to it at this point, but it's just like an open wound all the time now, which doesn't sound great.
Yeah, it seems really bad.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. And also we got kind of a cool little lore story of the sea god was kind of like captured on this island or pushed to this island by the merfolk or whatever.
Oh yeah, there was a big war between the Moros and this god like many, many years ago. Yeah,
and they they kind of isolated or confined him to this island, which was for the benefit of everybody. Yet Moros were hated because like the sea god makes it so the inhabitants of this island basically can't fish because it kills all the fish around, and it makes the water like undrinkable in certain times. It just like made life hard for like this certain group of people or whatever.
But at a point, like so much of the ocean couldn't have fish in it at all because of this thing. So they kind of restored balance to the ocean, but that doesn't help this village or whatever. So they're still pissed about it. Yeah, I guess it's also Easter or something. It's the Easter of the sea god. It's a special full moon or something for this thing. So it's at its most powerful or something.
Yeah. And even oh my God, what's his name? We haven't talked about him in a long time. Wind guy.
Oh yeah. Serpico's powers are enhanced because of it as well.
He makes mention of something like that. Yeah.
His wind sword or whatever, like his cloak and stuff, is a little powered up because of it.
Yeah.
That's right. And yeah, I guess that's that's the big stuff that went down. Pirates are back, and how much do you think the Pirates of the Caribbean films impressed upon Mira and affected how he was doing stuff here?
Oh, right. I was going to look up what era this was. Was this like 2010s?
Because it's definitely like after at least two of those movies, I think. So
yeah,
I couldn't help but thinking about it. Not that, they invented pirates or anything. It's just big budget ships going underwater and whatever.
Yeah.
Undead ghost ship type stuff. They say Davy Jones's locker at least one time. So,
True. 2010 in Japan. Yeah. So
yeah.
2010. That's when this started. Man, 13 years ago. 2010 feels like a long time ago. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
And, one piece would have already been pretty big.
Yeah.
So trying to tap into that pirate realm,
This is definitely tapping more into Lovecraft horror than it is pirate stuff necessarily.
Well, what they're dealing with, yeah.
Yeah.
Azan continues to just keep his helmet on and not reveal himself for some reason. He has a couple moments where he mutters something or whatever. I think about the pirates specifically. It's like, wait a minute, it's those guys. I capsized one of their boats or something. Like, it's like, oh yeah. But still not confident enough to take off the helmet and be like, hey, you guys remember me?
Yeah, admit who he is or whatever.
I'm the bridge knight or whatever. We hung out a while ago.
Yeah.
Lady Farnese, good to see you again. We used to be co-workers. He hasn't done any of that. I'm kind of waiting for him to embolden a bit, but whatever.
I have a bad feeling I think he's going to die. I think he's going to go out and some weird sacrifice.
We're assuming it's Azan, but then he takes off the helmet and it's an imposter. It's like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
But, yeah.
So
cool... no elf helm this week. That's for a future volume, I guess. Yeah.
And some cool moves I thought Guts had. You talked about the recoil, using the cannon fire recoil, spin attack or whirlwind attack or whatever.
I think someone calls it out as oh, cool, spin slash or something.
Spin slash, sure. That was pretty sick. I do like that he does that a couple times in this volume and even says something about I'm going to have to start charging you extra for powder or gunpowder or something.
Right.
Because he's using his hand so much.
At one point he had a kind of corny line or something where it's he shows up to the pirates and looks like we're going to be eating you or something like that. It's
You're right.
All right.
He does say something like that.
Because I think the pirates keep saying haha, we're going to feast tonight or whatever. And then he shows up and kind of throws it back at him. But it was just that's not the coolest thing you've ever said.
Yeah, where he's just no, you, basically.
Yeah. So
that's pretty dumb. He does this cool move where he braces. He gets into this crouched position and puts the sword at an angle, braces it the backside of the sword or whatever against his arm and pushes forward through a tentacle, one of the giant tentacles or something. That I was okay, that's pretty sick. That's just awesome looking.
For a half asleep guy, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. And I guess the big thing really for us is that he's in the Berserker armor again. What's going to happen now? Because last time it was hard to bring him back last time. So
yeah. That's kind of the dangling question for next volume is how are they going to bring him down out of this again? I was kind of wondering if Farnese was going to try to step up and do it because she has some spell ability or whatever at this point. Sure. And she's the only one maybe capable that's there right now. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what goes on. I think at one point she used her weird plant bandolier things to fight a thing in the tavern. So yeah.
What if the way it stops is by Casca saying, "Guts, please stop," or whatever? It's oh my god.
Yeah, that's probably what's gonna. No, I don't think she's gonna return suddenly to her faculties. She has a couple gawking face moments or whatever in this.
I don't think she says "ooh" anytime though. So
I don't. There might be an AU at one point. Oh,
maybe
that's it. But yeah,
yeah. Do you think
that's Elaine?
With what happened, do you think maybe the Berserker armor is even more powerful now too? Against his will, I mean, not necessarily empowered.
Oh, each time it gets used, it gets more of a hold on him or something.
Well, no, the fact that the
since
imagination
the wind or
land happened, yeah.
Yeah, now it's even more magical and powerful than before. Maybe. Who can say?
Doesn't it growls in this or whatever? When he transforms, there's a thing where he's just going or something, and howling at the moon or something. So maybe he actually went full wolf.
I hope not for the party's sake, but you're right, that could have happened. So,
but it leads to such cool scenes of him sitting on something with the sword, and it's that's going to be on a T-shirt somewhere because it's so cool looking.
Yes, he does springboard off of something. I think the prow of a ship or something, as in the Berserker form.
Doesn't he just like shoot himself through the ship or something? He does something to get like right up to where Bonebeard is.
I forget. I thought he just sprung onto the like kind of cat jump, but maybe there was more chopping action to get up there.
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, that's our guts, flying off the handle. But yeah. What's our?
I was gonna ask you this question actually.
Yeah.
How do you feel about how big this thing has gotten? Because I kind of liked the more personal story of Guts and Griffith and the giant tragedy and him kind of like fighting the monster of the week and slowly trying to get to Griffith. But this has gone so far into like, oh yeah, no, now literally anything could happen at all that we want ever. And it's canon. It's like, okay, maybe you went a little too big.
I feel this kind of is restricting back down to Monster of the Week style or whatever.
I
like
hope
this is
so.
a little like, last time we had like this giant world ender huge column of flesh crazy thing.
It felt too big.
And then the wind blew up and like, yeah, it's like a mega kaiju exploded or whatever and changed the world in this giant light explosion or whatever. This is like, and now there's a ship full of pirates that are pissed off and there's a sea serpent or whatever. Like it's a little more smaller scale compared to what we just did. So yeah, I guess it kind of got to set the stage for another big thing, which
do you prefer?
Get to.
You like the giant world ender boss type thing, or do you prefer these like smaller Monster of the Week volume scale things?
I kind of like when it builds up to something really big like that, but like kind of the journey along the way is more fun, I guess. And I like ship stuff, I like, Swiss Family Robinson. It's a good pirate battle. So yeah. I guess I was okay with kind of smaller stake stuff going on. But, there's always kind of the promise that after 5 or 6 volumes, like something big is going to start developing or whatever. So you get both. You get both. I think I'm most awestruck when it gets really, really big. Like when stuff starts like culminating into a giant eclipse or like that echo or whatever. Like the kind of big scale stuff is just kind of like, wow. This is one of the biggest staged things I've ever seen, as opposed to, a guy's gonna, Devil May Cry, guy's gonna fight some monsters. So yeah,
sure, yeah. I like Eldritch horror stuff, so like I'm into the setting. I don't know that I love the tentacle monsters. Like I just think they're kind of lame looking. I like the slug stuff and other shit a little bit more.
Yeah, like kind of when it was like weird shadowy villagers or whatever, that was kind of more cool than when they suddenly started popping weird quill things and were monsters.
There's specifically one of them where like when everything turns and they go to like the dude cooking the dinner, the cook or the tavern owner, and he's like holding the butcher's cleaver and he's like this weird amalgamation of like tentacles or like sea slugs or something in the shape of a human with like a fucked up mouth. It's like, okay, that's good tentacle slug garbage. This just like actual Venus flytrap on like a centipede leg or something looks terrible. I hate that.
Like Guts is kind of super ready for that and like throws a dagger in that guy's eye and then he suddenly turns into like a big massive tentacle stuff and bursts out of the kitchen or something. And you're like, all right. Yeah, like for a while they were kind of reminding me of the Regenerators or whatever from Resident Evil.
Yeah, totally.
And then they're just we're tentacles.
like okay. you know those motherfuckers.
We keep saying
tentacles,
but they're not like Day of the Tentacle or like the wiggly kind of bunch of little suction cups or anything. It's like they're the end of a tentacle, like just the pad of a tentacle, but with a mouth on it.
The way I could describe
I'm holding
it
up my hand, but that doesn't really help.
Think of like a giant like palm frond or something. The frond has a mouth in the middle and like weird like claw teeth around it, and it's attached to like a centipede arm or something. That's kind of what it looks like.
It having eyes, like that one shot of the kind of squid mouth with eyes was kind of cool, but yeah. I think also that they look kind of uniform at a point too. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of also it. Yeah.
You know, Miura's brought us some pretty crazy monster designs. He can't always bat 1,000, you know, so it's okay. I'm at least still glad it's not just a sperm whale with a guy's face on it or whatever.
Fucked Up Bonebeard is awesome looking too, with like, he has that, remember when we were talking a while back of like, when you look at a dude's face and you just know something's wrong with it or whatever, he has that look with like the weird double iris in his eyeball or whatever, and just like, yeah, they do a good job of undead.
It's like in the mouth of
Bonebeard.
badness pupils or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
that stuff's cool. I like that stuff. Any predictions for where this is going? I think we've already said them, but like Isma is going to be
Isma is going to join the crew. The ship will be repaired. I don't know if anyone's going to die in this encounter. I don't think that fits.
Probably not.
Like, Magnifico's a bit extraneous, but that probably won't happen. You don't need him, but whatever.
Do you feel that like this series has lost some of its edge and teeth, knowing that like we've had a bunch of the same crew together and none of them have really had any real hardship where we thought they were going to die, coming from an arc where literally all of the Band of the Hawk we came to love was murdered brutally in front of us? Like, is it kind of weird that nothing's happened to any of them since?
Yeah, like even side characters like Nina and like the other brothel, like den mother or whatever, she gets swooped in and saved by Skull Knight and stuff. Like, it's just like,
yeah,
all right, like I like that character, so I'm glad they're not a splotch or whatever. But kind of a bit weird.
Now? Is there no more teeth?
Yeah, it'll just be kind of a throwaway side character. Like, it'll be like that little kid that like goes to his mom and then it's like, no, it's a horrible monster, and then he gets eaten or whatever, and you're like, that's pretty crazy, but I didn't really know that kid, so it's, you know, not gonna sink in. Another
example, like, correct me if I'm wrong because I likely would have forgotten. Have we had an incident since the Lost Children arc where there was just like a murder, like a giant barn of cut up children or murdered like innocent people that was just horrific? Have we had a horrific moment that wasn't just like, yeah, giant god guy is stomping on people, but these people don't have names. They're just there to die.
And, and they were kind of enemy soldiers or whatever anyway. So it's screwed up, but it's not, you know, as tragic or whatever.
The last big thing was like the pregnant women being thrown into the monster maker machine, I guess.
Yeah, that was pretty messed up. Like, I was going to say all those women that were captured by the trolls, but they saved them, you know? Like, it screwed up what was happening, but they all get rescued, like Temple of Doom style or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe you know, Mira got a little chilled out later in life.
He had like a kid or something. He had a family, people that loved him. Things weren't so bleak anymore for him.
Yeah, his edgy teen phase was over or something. I don't know.
Honestly, yeah, like kind of, right?
A little bit. But yeah, like some nameless sailors or whatever get chomped here, but it's even that isn't as crazy as like some of the deaths you'd see where it's like, wow, that guy's head got cut in half or whatever. It's just like, no, a tentacle grabbed him. Probably ate him or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. But maybe next week's going to go crazy, you know?
Could be.
Like, Guts could just eviscerate the entire party, and we're going to be like, what? That's crazy. I can't believe he did that. Yeah.
That's our Guts.
Like, oh, you thought Isma was going to join the crew? Nope, dead.
Yeah.
So,
oh, she joined the crew all right. As like their dinner for the next week or something.
Yeah, Guts wasn't joking. He was gonna eat people.
Yeah, he's real hungry.
That was the armor talking. Anyway, if you want to send us a query, what is it again? It's like I have
gone berserk at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. That's right. And yeah, this was episode 33. Thanks for joining us. How many are left? How many tales do we still have?
How many volumes? So this was volume 35, and it ends at 41, which was only released last year in November, I think. So
all right,
we're getting there, but there's video games and animes to talk about, so we could like go on a little bit after that.
Yeah, Phantom of the Paradise, that's where that helmet design came from.
I would be kind of interested to just be like, well, we're done talking about literally everything Berserk. Like, why don't we start looking at things that like were inspired by Berserk and seeing how they tie in? Like, you could
somehow it becomes a Dark Souls podcast. Like, just
everything does really in the end.
Yeah, finally started playing Elden Ring, so we're just gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
I haven't,
exactly.
but for the future, yeah. Mario Maker 2. There's a lot of levels inspired by Berserk in it. It's weird.
Probably at least one.
Maybe. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, that's it for this week. Thanks for sailing with us, and we'll see how this chapter concludes next time.
Bye.
Ding. That's the bell.